Ferreri here, Member of Parliament for Peterborough Kawartha, and thank you for joining us for another edition of People Before Politics. Now, normally we shoot these live on Wednesdays, but we've changed it up, so just always be ready. You just never know what's going to happen here on the Hill. The point of these podcasts, these videos, this series, is really to give you an inside look and make a connection to the people that you often see in headlines or you see people talk about. And sometimes, hurtful narratives about elected officials, in particular conservatives, is a lot of what we focus on, to have a human connection. Because what I know in my experience in my travels is that when we have a connection with somebody, we're less likely to judge them. We're more likely to understand them or have empathy. And empathy is kind of that glue that brings society together. And quite frankly, we need it more than ever right now. In a world of social media, in a world this week in particular, where we've seen so much crime and horrific videos surfacing online. I don't know if many of you have seen that circulating of a man being stabbed out front of a Starbucks. It deeply impacted me this week, and I think we as a society need to get more connected to each other and understand that each person has a story, each person is a human and has feelings. So that was really the purpose behind doing these interviews. And so today I'm very excited to join one of my friends and colleagues, Member of Parliament, Stephanie Kusie. Now let me make sure I get your riding correct. This is a big deal to make sure you get people's ridings correct. Calgary, Midnapore.
That's right, yeah.
You won your riding with a decisive margin, earning 77.2% of the vote. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And currently serves as Shadow Minister for the Treasury Board. Now, Stephanie, I often call her Kusie. This always comes through on these interviews. You get to see who we really are. I don't know. Does anybody else call you Kusie, or is that a me thing?
Yeah, I get a lot of Kusies, I think.
It's just such a fun. I don't know. I like saying that last name.
Yeah, when I met my husband, that really stood out for me. That name, I'd never heard it before. And as well, he tied it to like schmoozy, boozy, jacuzzi. So that seemed like...
That's you.
Yeah.
All of those things are you.
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah.
So Stephanie and I met pretty early on when I got elected. You were very kind. You reached out to me. We went for dinner with my partner, Ryan, and I got to know you pretty quickly. And you really struck me as one of the many people in the party, but you're direct, you're honest, but man, are you ever smart.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
Very, very clever.
Thank you.
Do you speak 4 languages?
I do, yeah.
Spanish, French, English, and German?
Correct, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, well, we have so many talented people in our caucus that speak so many different languages and have so many different skills, but that's right, I speak those 4.
To me, that is like... There's like things you look back on in your life and you're like, man, I wish I spoke another language, never mind 4 other languages.
I don't know how to play the piano. That's why my son's in piano right now.
You should probably leave then. Yeah. So that negates all the things
I wish I had that
accomplished.
skill. Like, that's an example of a skill I wish I had that I don't, but...
You're so funny. Well, you're amazing. So I want to hear a little bit about how you got to where you are. Did you always want to be a Member of Parliament?
Yeah, so I think I had a couple of pivotal moments in my life. The first was, I think, identifying myself as a conservative. I was a brownie. Those don't even exist anymore.
I think they do. They just changed the name of it.
Okay, pardon me. They're Embers now, I think, something like that.
I don't know.
Yes, I was a sprightly sprite in the brownies, and I was doing my citizenship badge.
I was just going to tell you a very funny story. I also was a brownie.
Okay.
But I only stayed for about 6 weeks because I said, well, when do we actually make brownies? And when they didn't make brownies, I left.
I can see that.
That's my brownie story. Sorry, you were.
That's okay. That's okay. And we were doing our citizenship badge, and one of the elements of getting your citizenship badge was it said, talk to an adult about politics in your community. So I was like, Dad, tell me about politics in our community. And he's like, well, Steph, there are liberals, there are NDPs, and there are conservatives. Everyone here is a conservative. So it really felt like my path was set forward in terms of sort of my ideology. And like Looking back, there were things in my life that I didn't really attribute to being conservative, but now with time and experience have. Like, I come from a small business family. My dad's had a small business since the late 70s in Calgary, and my brother's taken that over now, but just sort of that mentality where the conversation around the dinner table was really, the mood of it was based upon how the store had done that day. And then the other thing that really made me think about being a member of parliament, like I was always on students' council in high school, students' union in university. But when I was a diplomat, I remember when I was the charge in El Salvador, the ambassador was out of the country and I was being sent in for the next round of this, what was then the C4 trade negotiations. And so I got my little readout on the fax machine because this was still like early 2000s, and I was reviewing it, and I had all my positions straight because I was going to meet the trade minister for El Salvador. So practice, rehearse. I went there with my envelope, and she basically snatched the envelope out of my hand, and she said to me in Spanish, she said, "You tell your government, we'll get back to them in 2 weeks." And that really was the moment that I recognized I was the messenger and not the decision maker. I didn't have the pen in my hand. And so that was a really strong moment for me that one day I wanted to have the pen in my hand. I mean, I'm very lucky in the sense that I think humility was kind of ground into me. I come from 4 children. I'm the oldest.
You love your siblings. You
I
talk
do.
so much. I love.
Oh,
You did a
thank
post
you.
the other day. She's like, "Look at my brother just texted me of me sitting
That's
behind."
right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I
Yeah.
was really told you're not special. Like, so, like, I mean, in a positive way, like everyone is special.
I love that.
Really?
I really connect with that.
Okay, that's cool.
I
That's
really
cool.
do.
Why do you connect with that?
Because everybody is special,
Yes.
which neutralizes
Yes,
everybody.
exactly.
Like, even the chance of you existing
Yes.
is like, I don't even know the stat, but it's like absolutely like more than there are stars in
Yes,
the sky, right?
exactly.
Like, you are as rare as it is, which neutralizes everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has something
Yeah.
to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then the diplomacy, the diplomatic career reinforced that because it's never about you. It is about you are a messenger for the current government. You are an interlocutor for the current government. And then as well, I was deputy head of mission twice, but never the ambassador. So then the light is always on the ambassador. Like, I remember when I went for accreditation in El Salvador, which is like this big process. You go through a motorcade like we saw with Biden last week. I was in that. I'm sure the official from El Salvador thought I was crazy because I was sitting there losing my mind like a movie as we're having traffic stop for us being navigated through downtown San Salvador. But I remember in that ceremony where both I as consul and Charge and the ambassador received her accreditation, I was told in Spanish again, always behind the ambassador. And so, this was really drilled into me. But I would say these are the 2 sort of fundamental stories that determined my desire to enter politics and sort of my ideology as a conservative.
It's really fascinating because I didn't know much about foreign affairs. I still, like, it's not my strength by any means. I mean, you're very strong in foreign affairs and foreign policy. But I had the opportunity to go to Germany in the G7, and so I was partnered with a diplomat. And the diplomat really is the person that sort of is the mediator, like you said, to make sure that all your needs are taken care of and to connect you with the ambassador and such. But they're very non-partisan.
Right.
They cannot.
Right.
They cannot be partisan.
Yeah.
Meaning they can align with a political party or have a political view. But they were extremely insightful,
Yeah.
knowledgeable, knew everything
Yeah.
about everything, but didn't have a partisan
The
stance.
smartest people I ever worked with were at Global Affairs. Now, what's interesting is that there I could see sort of a passive-aggressive fight to the top to get to ambassador and head of mission, whereas here we do it right in your face, Michelle. Like,
which I much prefer. Just
Yeah,
be straight,
yeah.
which I think you're very good at, which I've told you.
oh, thanks.
But I'm fascinated because I see a parallel because I was in journalism too, and
Yes,
which was also
right.
very nonpartisan.
Yes.
And so how did you sort of say, okay, and you said this to me the other day, which I also feel deeply, every day I'm here, I get more and more partisan. Because I think you come in, and I think you were like I did, you come in and you're thinking, because you do have to see all sides.
You
You
do.
do have
You
to.
do.
You have
Yeah.
to when you do this job. But what do you think has made you more partisan the more you're here? And being shadow minister on the Treasury board, like if you want to tie that in too with the budget and
Yeah.
everything that's happening.
I think when I arrived here, it was with the idea that we are all on different political teams, but fundamentally there was a desire amongst parties and that to work together to have a better Canada. And I think I've just seen, like, repeatedly the depths at which individuals and parties will go to win, if you will, and to maintain power. And I'm almost at the point where I'm not sure I recognize a way to electoral victory without a certain level of partisanship and a certain level of exploiting this partisanship for political gain. So I think that's what it is that I might have looked at some, and it's actually unfortunate for my character. I think it's actually unfortunate for Canadian society, because I might have looked at someone in the NDP coming in, talking about loving my siblings. My sister, my best friend in Toronto, hardcore NDP, and her husband as well. But I might have looked at them before as like having compassion from their story, where they grew up, whereas now I see just examples of them exploiting anything in an effort for some type of political gain. Like, for example, in the House yesterday, when the leader used the word savage, and an NDP member of Parliament stood up and said, this is a derogatory term, when we actually evaluated not only speeches, not only the NDP leader, journalists had previously used this word, and and some even in the sense of a noun, not even in the terms of an adjective or an adverb. So I was just shocked to see that, because it just seems every single thing that can potentially be exploited for political gain is, and I've even had it happen to myself, like on a very personal levels and very disappointing levels. I had a conversation in a Facebook chat with a friend from high school where I thought it was a private chat between the two of us when we were discussing a vote that had occurred. And he went and he took the chat and he made it public. And a left-leaning publication used it against me. And I was completely bothered by that this type of trust would be violated. Same thing in an email conversation, or a response to an email on witnesses to one of our colleagues. I used a term, disgraceful, and this was in regards to a study that was then being done at Status of Women on violence against women in the natural resource sector.
I was on that committee.
And I wasn't referring to the study. I was referring to the way that the government was weaponizing this study against the natural resources sector, which I will always stand up for, and the way that the contributions of natural resources companies had not been recognized towards this cause. So it's a combination of these things. I like to think of myself as a well-intentioned person, giving people the benefit of the doubt, but it's been violated and disappointed repeatedly. And this example in the House was another thing yesterday. And it's exhausting. And so I kind of, it really becomes like the Hunger Games, where you just realize, like, someone actually really described it well to me yesterday, where you're either if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And it's kind of feeling more and more like that the only way to survive politically, or to overcome this pettiness, this distortion of words and ideas, is to win. And so this is where I'm getting to the point now where it's like, well, whatever it takes to win. That's really, and I might not be the best person to implement these tactics or to come up with these tactics in it, but I'm kind of on board. Like, let's win.
Well, I think it's interesting. There's so much I want to unpack from that.
There's a lot there.
Because I think it is a lack of leadership when you have this decay. I think what happens when people disappoint you, when you expect people to be loyal, or you expect people to be something that you thought they were and they're not, or they put their own personal agenda ahead of your relationship or the greater good, it chips away at you.
It
right?
does.
And so then you become sort of bitter and angry. And I think we actually have the most volatile political landscape I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Maybe it's been like this before, but I don't think we've had this.
Yeah.
You know, the social media and all of those different things. And so it's funny because I'm a very hopeful, optimistic person.
Yes,
but
you are.
It's hard some days.
Yeah.
But I hope that good leadership, so to your point of we have to win, because I think that you're hopeful that if we had better leadership, that this would help correct itself because it's a mess right now.
Yes, it is a mess.
And I think, you know, to your point, it's like, so that incident yesterday in the House with one of the NDP members, you know, the word savage is really interesting because it's like a really trendy word. Like young kids use it all the time. It's like savage. It's it's like this kind of pop culture, non-intended to be, you know, a racial slur. Like we've gotten so offended and so, but I know that member pretty well. We work together pretty well from the NDP and you know, I think she thought something and then it comes at him. It's like a big family fight sometimes, but then nobody talks and restores it because you crossed me, you violated what I thought we had for trust, and now I can't move forward. So I guess what I would say to all of that, in your experience, can we fix it? Can we restore the people's trust in politics because they're losing trust? Right? They're losing the road in the system, which is creating chaos. Right? The convoy is a direct example. So how do we, as the people that are in the system, regain trust with the people?
Yeah, I mean, that is a really tough question. I think that it requires two things where I'm not even sure as a society if we are willing to do that. One is the ability to be truly honest with ourselves. Like you talk about knowing who I am and being able to just be pragmatic about my approach. And I guess that's why, you know, even though I sort of believe in the concept of the necessity of a conservative government or a victory, even on the government operations committee, I have to get caught up in like expensive salads and sandwiches, which are certainly an affront to the taxpayer, but it's just the bigger questions at mind. But my point is, it's really hard, I think, for us to be honest with ourselves in terms of what is real and what is not. And
well, the thing is each person believes, like back to your NDP comment about your sister, they believe what they're fighting for is they're helping.
That's true.
And
that's
so then
true.
you're like, wow, but so does that person.
Yeah,
so
but then why is someone getting stabbed outside Starbucks if it's not? Like, so
it's not working.
To me,
so then you come back to facts.
But then again, it would go back to my ideological position against theirs, which is they aren't being honest with themselves as to why they are a victim or to why they are, why things are the way they are. Like which comes back to, again, for me, personal responsibility, which is again why you see the coolness, why you see the pragmatism, because rather than this name calling that happened yesterday in the House, like just what a waste of all of our time, of like 20 minutes of our life that we'll never get back, rather than just letting it go. So I think the first thing is the necessity to be honest, and the second one is just the ability to be present and focus on what's happening and not have to escape to social media, or like I love shopping, and I love 100%.
Yes, she does.
I do.
She loves
I absolutely
shoes too.
do. I love shopping and shoes, and I love a good glass of wine or a rum and coke after tennis. But it takes, I think, a lot of courage, a lot of presence, a lot of mental discipline to just focus on the problem at hand or the real feelings at hand. And I'm not sure we're there as a society right now. We're not. And so when we can't be honest with ourselves, when we can't escape, or we can't avoid our escapes, to deal with the present reality that leaves us in a real bad place now. I do believe with a conservative government, we have a better chance of that. I do believe we have a government which is more prepared to take a real look at society and evaluate situations as they really are. And actually, I think Pierre Poilievre is the best leader, is in the best position to do that. I think he is a product of all of these things I've talked about.
Yes.
The growing up with a gay father at a time where that must have been very difficult as a young conservative. Having choosing a Latino wife, like he is truly the what I see as like a product of all of the facets of Canadian society. He has, I want to say, evaluated them, dealt with them internally through the aspects of his life, and he is where he is now as a result of recognized as being honest with himself and those around him, and I think now the Canadian public. And then just again, like when we go to him, he wants the facts. He doesn't care your feelings or that's
so
it.
That was my.
It sort of feeds into what I'm saying though about
Yes.
those two problems. I feel he's addressing them.
You took the words out of my mouth, because what I love about Pierre is that he wants the data.
Yes.
And I've always said this, my whole feelings are not facts.
Yes. Right.
Feelings are not facts.
Yeah. And you and I like feelings.
I love feelings.
Yes.
They
Yes.
dictate a lot of my life,
Yes.
but they're not facts and they're not data.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, we could go into this in great detail when I look at mental health and opioids
Yes.
and all that. But Pierre, I think, has that ability to sort of say, and he's extremely compassionate. He's extremely empathetic.
Yeah, he is.
But he approaches problem solving with facts and data.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that will be what we need as leadership. I want to talk to you about Treasury Board.
Yes.
Because you're very savvy in this. I just want to touch briefly on the budget, and then I want to ask you some other fun questions.
Sure, sounds
but
good.
What do you think about this budget, and how will it impact? Like, what does the Treasury Board do for people who don't know?
Yeah, so the Treasury Board basically oversees the public service and the public accounts. So in my time in the Treasury Board, it's been difficult because I believe that in addition to the public service getting very bloated, having difficulty delivering basic services to Canadians, I don't think they're happy either. And again, it comes back to that leadership, because I feel as though they are without direction right now as a result of a government that is distracted by this maintaining power that we've been talking about. And then the other thing is the dispensement or disbursement of the public accounts. And so when I got up in the House last week during those late night votes and asked the president of the Treasury Board my big line about, are these in their usual form? It is really that responsibility of the public accounts. And I don't think Canadians have any idea where their money is going. And I don't think that the way funds are accounted for or can help Canadians with that. I was stunned when I learned about the budget, because growing up learning about a budget, it was, we make this much money, we spend this much money, we have this amount of money left over after that. Really, the budget, in my opinion, should be called spending priorities for the fiscal year, blah, 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 because that's really what it is. Yeah. It doesn't matter what we bring in or it has nothing to do with that. So that's kind of an overview as to the Treasury Board, responsible for the people that make Canada hum. It should matter.
It should matter. But under the Liberals, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Hence the cost of
yes. And this goes back to the leadership and Pierre Poilievre and a Conservative government. So that's it. And as for the budget, I mean, the budget is really more of the same. Which is, you can't spend your way to prosperity, as we've said. I was very fortunate at one point to have your portfolio, which you were doing an amazing job of, families, children, and social development. And I soon realized that in a lot of ways, it was kind of foobar, if I can say that on your show, because...
You just did.
Because the problem
that was
is
savage, by the way.
A society which is not creating a good economy where people don't need these programs. And here instead we've got a grocery rebate. what the heck is that? Where it's like
You wouldn't need the
you
grocery
wouldn't need
rebate
the grocery
if
rebate. Exactly. That's it. That's it.
know.
And then this coming from Alberta, I find this just so offensive, the picking of winners and losers in our sector, when the natural resources sector had given so much to society, saying, oh, forget that, we're going to throw more money at EV cars. And again, having been in the transport portfolio previously as well, like I genuinely believe we'll move to hydrogen even before we get to the time to manufacture all the batteries necessary,
right.
and taking the critical minerals from countries with bad governments, blah, blah, blah. We could go on. So not a lot of good in the budget. I'm struggling. Sometimes they ask you to think of one good thing. I'm struggling to think of a single good thing, but it's more of the same, which
I
is,
feel like every day is Groundhog Day.
yes,
here.
every day is Groundhog Day, taking all of Canadians' money and saying, here's a couple bucks, you know?
And telling you they're doing one thing
Yep.
and doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like, I look at the childcare bill, for example, and it's supposed to be this universal childcare, but it's exactly winners and losers.
Yes.
Because there are people completely cut out of it. There are parents and families who will never have access
Exactly.
to this. And so it's like, again, anyway, I digress.
No,
because
I
said-
came to you in the lobby and
Yeah.
I said to you, it's a lie. Remember, that's one of the first
It's all
conversations
it
we had.
is.
Yeah.
It's all the
Yeah.
same. I mean, affordable childcare is wonderful. There isn't a parent out there that doesn't want. It's a huge cost. It's
Amen.
a huge
Yeah.
burden.
Yeah.
But if you can't access it, it
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So anyway, I mean, we're stuck in this merry-go-round until we get out of it. And I think the number one question I get asked all the time is, why don't you just call an election? Like, what are you doing?
Oh,
like, nothing changed.
true,
How do you
true.
make this government? It's the number one thing I get asked every single day. And I explain it to people. I'm like, the NDP have a coalition with the Liberals. You need a non-confidence vote or the Governor
Right,
General to
right.
pull rank from the Prime Minister. Otherwise, and they're like, well, can you not change that so that there's more safeguards? And I said, well, not unless we're in government.
And that comes
And
back
so
to
then
the
it comes back to
partisan
winning. So see what we just did there?
I know.
See what we just did there. Okay, Stephanie Kusie, let's talk a few fun facts.
Okay.
You love your family. You love your beautiful son. Do you want to give your son? It's Elliot, right?
Edward.
Edward. Oh
But
my
Elliot's
gosh.
my nephew. That's okay.
Okay, that's
Elliot's
why
my
I'm
nephew.
like, okay, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Edward. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
it's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
That great guy.
And your husband, and you love to shop. She's very fashionable. She's
Thank you.
Kusie always shows up just.
Thank you.
And actually, these were a gift from her, so I wore
They
them
look
today.
great. They
Thank
look
you.
fantastic.
Favorite food?
Oh, linguine vongoli. I love
Wow,
Italian.
you didn't even skip a beat
No,
there. Okay, I love that.
Italian. Yeah.
She knows what she wants
Yeah.
too, which I love about her.
Oh, thank you.
Favorite movie?
Oh, Legally Blonde, without question. Yeah, no doubt. I quote Legally Blonde all the time. Like,
Oh my gosh,
I don't
I love
need
it.
any backups. I'm going to Harvard. That was me. I was like, I don't need any backups. I'm going to Parliament. Yeah.
I love that. Favorite book?
I struggle with this one because there are so many good ones. I always go back to Atlas Shrugged because I guess this sort of defined me when I was in university. I mean, fundamentally, I think Ayn Rand needs more compassion, but I always go back to that one.
Thing you love the most about this job?
Making the difference in people's lives, like when you can get them more money from the CRA, get their answer.
Casework.
Casework. That's the word for it. Casework.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people in your office crying because you got their adopted child into Canada, like stuff like that. Just it's
Which
incredible.
is never what people see.
No,
They
you're
see
right.
the question
You're
period
right.
and the
Yeah.
theater
Yeah.
and the fighting, and they never see the nuts and bolts of what an MP's office does. Like, we have two full-time jobs, right?
Yes.
We have Ottawa,
Yeah.
and then we have our community,
Yeah.
right?
And great people like you, Michelle.
Steph sits two people beside me. So sometimes when you're in the house, and you're sometimes in there for a long time, if you have a vote or something, that's really when the bonding happens. And when you bond, you're a better team, right?
It's true.
Because you're connected and you're united, and because it's very hard. It's
It
very
is.
up and down. It's
It
like
is
when the
very
highs
up
are
and
high
down.
and the lows are low.
Yeah.
So what would be your least favorite part of the job?
The internal politics, I think. No, just having to sort of collaborate and coordinate with people internally to decide sort of what public policy and ideas you're going to come out with.
It's funny. I think conservatives, I laugh because if I go back to my report cards, Michelle's very independent, doesn't always play well with others. And it's like, that's actually a very conservative quality.
Yes.
Like, we're very autonomous,
Yes.
leave me alone type of people, like let me be me and let me.
Yeah.
But that is also our strength and our underbelly.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is always kind of the
Yeah.
same thing. Okay, one thing that you want to really achieve before you exit this job.
Oh my gosh. Probably if I had to pick something, it would be principled foreign policy for Canada again.
Okay, I like that. And you and your NDP sister still love each other.
She is my best friend. And you know what's great? On the holidays, we all hate the Liberals.
That's what unites us.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stephanie
Thank
Kusie.
you,
I have
Michelle,
to tell
for
you,
having me.
It's been great. I always loved chatting with you, and I always love your direct, honest, frank feedback. I can always trust when I go to Stephanie, she will be honest and direct and tell me what she thinks, and she knows pretty much everyone and everything. So it's always valuable to talk with you. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining this episode of People Before Politics. Please share. You can watch on any platform. It's on all podcasts as well. We'll have it uploaded to YouTube by the time hopefully you watch this. But please share, please watch, please comment, and thanks for watching this episode of People Before Politics.